Welcome back to Lost in Theaters. I'm Rachel, one of your hosts, and I'm here with
Ruth.
This is the podcast where we talk about movies that have slipped through the cracks of pop culture and cinema. Yeah, this movie is gonna, I think, be one of our litmus tests.
Oh.
For what it means to be lost in theaters.
I vote no.
That this isn't Lost in Theaters?
Yeah.
Why do you... Already?
I don't know. I just have this suspicion. You have this look on your face that's like, this might be the breaking point.
It might be. It's not... So, previously, my criteria had to do with not having ever heard advertisements for the movie. It's like one of the... That's one of the criteria, for sure. Where you always get those banners if you're like on IMDb or something, and they say something about coming soon, Zoom bots or something, you know. Zoom bots. You know that classic film.
I don't think I do.
And then on top of that, there's stuff like The Matrix. I've definitely heard about.
Yeah.
I mentioned that last week, but I've never seen a commercial for The Matrix, right?
Oh, okay. So.
And then so this movie is from 2001.
Oh, that's a recent.
That's a lie. It's not from 2001.
Falsehoods. Okay.
It's from 1991.
That's pretty different.
Brain collapse.
Still not like that long ago.
No,
Although my sense of time is real messed up.
No, it's from 1991, and it's a Disney movie, so it's from the Disney archives.
I just had a feeling of dread all of a sudden.
Really?
I don't know why that was.
That's so weird, Ruth.
Do continue.
The Great Mouse impends.
Oh, look, it's getting worse.
No, so it's a Disney movie, and there are several, Disney movies that I'm looking at that, for future episodes that seem obscure, and like when you Google them, you're not going to come up with a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
Not a lot of chatter, per se.
Yeah.
So this one is called
Chit-chat.
The Rocketeer.
Is this a goofy movie?
No.
Like, involving... Is it animated?
No.
It's live action.
It's live action.
This is concerning.
And it's so interesting because watching it, I really felt as though this was the time for this movie.
Oh. And no longer.
You couldn't... making it now would be a whole... It was sort of like what we were talking about with Indiana Jones a few episodes ago, where movies like Indiana Jones are hard to make now because of the way that they want them to be big blockbusters, and to the point that there's this cinematic eccentricity almost, this cinematic marvel where it can't just be that the guy does his Indiana Jones thing and finds the Ark, right? It has to have this, and of course Indiana Jones is pretty spectacular, even for its time, right?
Yeah.
But it has no... There is a kind of simplicity to it. Maybe because it's set in World War II.
Maybe.
And this movie is also set in the 30s. The late 30s.
Good to know when World War II is.
No comments yet, folks. No comments yet.
What?
Right, spoilers. We can't be...
What?
Anyways.
What?
So, Lost in Theaters. I found out as I was I watched the movie, was looking into the movie. It has a bit of a cult following, but that doesn't mean...
Slashed. Can't be on the list.
It can't be on the list?
I'm kidding.
No, it's here! What do you mean? I mean, it's hard for movies never to be heard of before. I don't know. I felt... Okay, the other thing is, though, it's been remade into a children's animation where it's like a team of Rocketeers.
That sounds really bad.
It's on Disney Junior.
Oh.
So it's just not at all the same tone.
Ew.
At all.
Okay.
And I can imagine if I were a fan of The Rocketeer when I was... So this movie is definitely for 9 to 13-year-olds.
Really?
This is the target
Are these like
age.
a bunch of human-sized people being hobbits, like Merry and Pippin with rockets?
No.
And, like, the fireworks?
I have said nothing about the plot, Ruth. No, you're incorrect. Although that's a good guess, having no information on the plot.
The age range is really throwing me off.
Oh yeah, so the
Like,
reason...
that's bizarre to me.
It's because it's definitely 9 to 13, but you can still enjoy it.
And why, pray tell?
Okay, hang on. You can still enjoy it when you're older, but you
No.
have to be willing, but you have to be in that mindset where I feel like between the ages of 9 and 13, you're just willing to watch movies.
I'm making a skeptical face.
You are very skeptical. There's just, you're like, I'll taking in, you know, this movie and that movie. You go to the library.
Yeah, I see it.
And
okay.
you get the VHS and you're like, let's watch it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this movie would have totally appealed to me.
Did other people do that as kids?
I think they
You
might
go to the library
have.
and get the VHS?
Get the VHS.
I feel like that's a very specific age range.
I mean,
right there.
our age range, yes. But, no, I think additionally, I mean, in general, whether it was the DVD or the streaming platform or whatever, there's this age where
you just consume media, like...
stories. You're really hungry for stories. And the thing about this is it's such a story.
Starving. Okay.
Starving? Because it's
for
a Rocketeer?
stories.
Because it's what's the word?
Like Thorin, when he's lost in the forest. We're lost because we're starving.
I don't understand.
You don't remember this?
In The Hobbit?
Yeah.
That's the only reason you said that Thorin was my only clue. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, come on. You know, when they're lost in the forest, and they're lost in the forest, and they're lost in... No, I'm pulling your leg.
Oh, thank goodness.
No, Rachel, it is in there. I'm just repeating
You
it.
just pulled my leg backwards!
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure this out later.
No, they're talking to the elf king.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's interrogating them. He's like, why did you ambush my people in their feasting?
Oh, because we were starving. Yeah. But not for stories.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like that.
Anyways.
So they'll eat anything and attack anybody for stories.
That was so obscure!
What? Not if you've, like, read The Hobbit. It's a pretty... It's a funny point.
Hobbit on the brain recently?
Not really, no.
Okay. Alright, so... yes.
Good talk.
If it is such a story, it's very much... If you're wanting to get more stories, this is one of them. It feels kind of not, you know, like the whole idea of like the hero's journey, you know? It's
unappealing.
Oh, it's the worst, right? I hate the hero's journey. But there's this idea that you can have stories and genres that play upon classic themes and ideas, and this totally does that, and it does it well, I'd say.
Is it the worst?
No.
You just said it was the worst.
Oh, the hero's journey?
Yeah.
What is it? What's it called? Yeah, I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
They say things like, everything can be fit onto this hero's journey. Every good story
just
ever.
Really narrowed the perspective there when you do that.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
But we're not doing that with this story, Ruth.
Okay.
It plays within its genre well.
Yay.
Okay, so, 1991 saw...
What genre is this?
Oh, yes. Historical fiction.
What? For 9 to 13-year-olds.
Historical adventure.
Specifically.
Science fiction.
What?
I was just realizing where the word science fiction comes from. I think this qualifies as science fiction. It's based on a comic book.
You've been looking for science fiction.
I have, and I didn't know I'd find it here. I just realized right now that I might have found a science fiction.
Oh, weird.
Because it's set before science fiction existed in the time.
What we think of.
Right.
Okay.
So, here's the thing. It's based on a comic.
Comic.
And I looked up the comic, and it has such funny reviews, because half of them are 5 stars. And they say, this is an amazing comic, and I love it, and I watched the movie when I was a kid, and this is so good. And the other half are like, this comic is garbage, and it has no plot, and it's a waste of time.
Well, then.
And it was the most controversial Goodreads review section I'd ever seen. It was so split.
It's on Goodreads, guys.
Yes, you can find the reviews for the comic on Goodreads. And the comic is also called The Rocketeer. And as far as I could tell, the characters all come from the comic.
Yeah.
They just, if anything, it seems as though Disney might have linked them together better. They might have, like, combined all the stories into, like, one big story kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And so here's also why I think this is a Lost in Theaters movie, Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
Hook came out that year.
Ah.
As well as Beauty and the Beast.
Uh-huh.
And An American Tale, which is about mice, and I hear referenced in videos about movies all the time.
Seen it.
We have?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
Where were we?
I think in our house.
Oh.
Yep. It's the mice coming from America.
Coming from or to? Maybe
no, to America.
Immigration or emigration?
There's no cats in America.
Wow.
Do you not remember this?
No.
Oh, it's a fun ship scene at the port.
Okay. Also, Fried Green Tomatoes came out that year. Fun.
Oh, that's a good, desperately sad one.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that's the information going in that you can have going into
hungry.
This about Fried Green Tomatoes.
Yeah, we just had dinner too.
We did. So Ruth, do you think the person who wants no spoilers has any more questions?
They probably want to know what the content is.
Oh, well, we've given who the movie's for.
Uh-huh. And
it's okay, so setting interwar period between World Wars 1 and 2.
Okay.
And there are pilots and flying involved.
Okay.
And it's a wild ride. That's the zero spoilers section, Ruth. Zero spoilers.
I feel like you need to be able to give a hook.
I should.
The hook.
Wasn't that the hook? All of what he said up to this point?
Good enough.
Okay, now when medium spoilers. I feel like medium spoiler people deserve a hook, right? They're like, we want to know the general thing. Okay,
they deserve a hook.
No, they don't deserve a hook. I didn't mean that. That way, sister.
Okay, I'm done being pessimistic. I'll be good.
Calm down, Rachel. It's gonna be cool. Okay.
Whoa.
Okay. Oops. So here's how it is. This young pilot, aspiring racer,
What?
He's like a crop duster pilot.
So, Star Wars.
No, think World War II planes, right?
No,
because he is allowed to fly planes.
Star Wars. Luke.
No,
on the planet.
Luke isn't allowed to fly planes. He's not supposed to fly planes.
Luke isn't?
No, it's Uncle Owen is all like, don't be like your father. He was a bad man. You remember?
I think I like that Uncle Owen voice better than Uncle Owen's voice.
Anyways, so you have got a young, aspiring aviation fellow.
Okay.
He wants to race planes, and through a series of accidents...
Is the cause of Silent Spring.
No. Through a series of accidents, he comes across a jetpack that is that the government has been developing.
Oh.
And
of course,
then
the government is aliens.
He and someone else, they have this tension where they're gonna give it back, but then they have to use it for something, and it escalates. And yeah, and there's a little bit of romance, very adventure-y. It's a very good side characters, I would say, enjoyable and comedic.
Oh, it's happy.
It is. Okay. It isn't a sad movie, folks. Don't be prepared to cry.
Don't be prepared to cry.
The thing about it is sometimes, movies... Yeah, no, this is not one of those movies. Do not expect...
What? What are those movies?
The movies that go, like, Fault in Our Stars or something, where you're gonna cry.
Does that count as Lost in Theaters? I have no idea
no,
what is in that.
That's very found in theaters. Everybody knows about that one, don't they? Except for Ruth. Ruth doesn't. You're somebody, I swear. Anyways, so, no, it's a happy movie. Yeah, that's the hook for the medium spoiler people. who want to know.
Is that all
Finds the jetpack. He's got a father figure. I don't think it's actually his dad. He's got a mustache.
That seems like a spoiler.
No, it's a character, and he helps him.
A father figure who might not actually be his dad?
Oh no, that's just because it was so ambiguous. They call each other by their first names, but he also calls him Pops, and he calls him son, or buddy, or sir. It's just really confusing.
Huh.
I had no idea what their relationship was. He was obviously the guy who knew how to do planes that was teaching the younger guy how to do planes, and their love of planes had brought them together somehow.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure what it was.
Planes.
His name? Do you want to know his name? Do you want to know his name, listeners? Ruth, do they want to know his name?
They can't really respond.
No, you are the listeners.
Oh,
remember?
I.
If you're a medium spoiler person, do you want to know his name?
What? Sorry.
Ruthie.
Okay, I'll behave. I'm trying.
Do you want to know? You don't. I'll tell you later.
Wait, his name.
It's too late.
Please.
It's over. 1938, by the way. We're in the year 1938.
1938. That's almost the 40s.
That's correct, Ruth. What happened at the beginning of the 40s?
Dates are not.
Does it have something to do with World War II? It might, folks. That's what I'm telling you. There were so many characters in this movie.
Oh.
There were so many characters. You just met more and more characters. I'm just gonna start telling people about the movie. Are you ready?
Are we out of the medium spoilers?
Or do you think the medium spoilers have any questions?
What's the music like?
Oh. Like Air Bud.
Oh. Okay.
That was my first thought. The music in the credits, I was like, I've heard this before. What is this? And I'm like, oh, it's Air Bud music. Oh my goodness.
Are there special effects?
There are. And it's 1991, so they're mostly good. There are a few moments.
Suspicious.
There's just like a couple moments when you're like, but it's passable. It's all great. Yeah. They don't go too far beyond their limits, like as far as they know what they're capable of doing, and then they use it to great effect.
So they're using like digital stuff.
There is some digital stuff. Okay. Yeah.
Digital stuff.
You know, ones and zeros. Any more questions?
Please tell me more about the actual plot now.
Okay, so like I said, he's this pilot. He flies. When the opening scene, he goes on this test flight, and he's flying. It's what's supposed to be one of the fastest planes they've ever made. They're gonna this is one's gonna get us to championships, and then you cut to a scene on the ground, and it's a car chase between the FBI and the mob a random police car.
Oh, okay.
And they're chasing them, and it all comes together such that the plane gets shot by one of the guns, and then he destroys the plane. He crashes the plane, but the mob gets to the hangar. One of the people stashes the case in a random plane, and the FBI get that guy, and they don't know where this thing is that he stashed.
This is sad and anxiety-inducing.
Really? It's great. It was so good. Oh,
he wrecked the plane.
It's really sad.
Hopes
he's so upset.
Dashed. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Why is this more upsetting than the bug thing?
I don't know. So then the feds won't pay for the damages either.
Boo.
And it's so maddening, and you're like, boo. Okay, then you learn about you go and visit this scientist. And you're like, cut to scientist. I'm telling you, characters out the wazoo. It's Howard Hughes. Do you know who Howard Hughes is?
I have no idea.
I didn't either, but they said his name so like precisely. They were like, Howard Hughes. And I was like, this is someone I should maybe know about. I looked him up. He's from Houston.
What?
Which is interesting.
Hey.
He's an actor in Hollywood, but also he was really into planes, and then he became a recluse.
What?
So that's your Howard Hughes information.
That's it?
Really into planes. He was kind of a millionaire type.
Oh,
eccentric
so people
billionaire.
Who, would be interested in planes would know his name.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's associated with planes.
So like those kids who'd be like, I love planes. I know who Howard Hughes is.
More like they'd watch this movie and be like, I want to know who Howard Hughes is.
Really?
Because it's weird. Because when you watch it, you think it might have happened a little bit. Like a part of you would want to pretend to be the Rocketeer, which is coming up. So they need to pay money to the guy whose gas tank got exploded.
What?
So the hangar is actually part of like a sideshow for they run these races, and there's a guy who's in charge, and his gas tank got exploded, and he's blaming the pilot, so he's making them pay, and they're like, how do we pay him? And he says, our hero who flew the plane.
What's his name now?
Oh my goodness. I wrote it down tons later. The girl's name is Jenny.
There's a girl?
Coming up. Cliff.
His name is Cliff.
That's correct. Cliff.
That unmemorable. That you...
Okay, so his name is Cliff, and he, what does he do? Oh yeah, he's like, we could do the clown thing again, and...
What?
The guy's like, yeah, that usually goes well. Let's do it. I'll give you extra money for the laughs. Sure, whatever. And
how old is
they're
this kid?
all upset. He's probably like, if I was young watching this, I would want him to be 16. But watching it now, I think he's definitely 20, 21.
Oh.
If not older.
What?
He's, a young man.
Okay.
That's my impression.
He's making some really interesting faces.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I would qualify him as a young man at this point. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna put that. Not a teenager though.
What?
Yeah, I don't think he's a teenager.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so he gets into all they have left is this old, dirty plane. That's not as good as the old one. So they go clean it out, and he jumps in the cockpit, sits down, and then jumps up because he sat on something. Ruth, what is it? It's wrapped in burlap, and it's
a ball.
Well, they don't
a ball python.
They don't really know what it is,
okay.
but they figure out that it's a jetpack.
Oh.
Runs on alcohol.
What?
Yep.
Of course it does.
He puts it on. It's so cool. He doesn't fly it just yet. They have a test dummy. They cut down a statue, strap it on the statue,
what?
tie the statue to the ground, nail a chain on a peg into a field, and test drive it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Then it's a whole thing. It breaks loose and it comes back around. It's really exciting. And they like throw out a reference to comic books at some point because there's homage to the comics. But so then we meet this mustache man, and he really wants the package that the mob lost. He's like, Mob, why did you lose my package, Mob? And the mob is like, well, we were chased by the FBI. And then he's like, but why did you lose my package, Mob? And then the FBI, the mustache man's all upset, and he tries to get it from them.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's a mustache man, turns out to be a movie star.
Oh.
And we meet him again. Oh, I see. Yes, that's happened. So what happens is, Cliff's girlfriend wants to be a movie star. So she works, they're in Hollywood in California. So she works with, on some set that the Mustache Man happens to be also working on.
Oh.
And Mustache Man, they do this whole scene. It's very much Singing in the Rain / Hail Caesar / that sort of like scene-esque.
That's all.
Yeah. And like we're movies inside movies.
Okay.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he does a whole scene, and they do it twice or whatever. And the girl is waiting. The Cliff goes to meet his girlfriend and knocks over a wall, and she gets fired, and they're having a conversation behind about everything that happens. And he was like, I was trying to tell you, I found this thing, it could change our lives, it's a jetpack. And then she's like, I wanted you to tell me about the important stuff. But meanwhile, Mustache Man overheard the whole thing, and he says, I know who has the jetpack now. I forgot to mention the scariest character in this movie. This is why the ages are 9 to 13 and not 5 to 13. Is because Mustache Man earlier, to like get the mob to do his bidding, calls, we don't know his name, I think we figure it out later, he just calls this guy, okay? and he picks up the phone. It's like one of those scenes where the guy calls the guy and you only see his hand pick up the phone. He's like, hello. Yeah. And you think, oh, it's a scary character. Ooh. And then he goes to the guy in jail who the FBI caught, and he says, where did you put the jetpack? Except he's huge. He is the biggest man.
What?
And it's makeup. This person clearly doesn't actually look like he looks, okay? What? It's this scary looking, and he's huge, and then he crushes the guy, and we see it happen in the shadows, and there's screams, and it's very scary.
I see.
You're just not on this guy.
So 8-year-olds will be fine with this.
Exactly. 9. I don't know. It was quite alarming. It's done kind of tactfully, you know, but it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, what a enforcer. Anyway, so he's figured out, the mustache man's figured out how to get it, because the girl knows the guy who's got it. It's a whole thing that happens. So then you cut back to the day that Cliff is supposed to have driven his plane around as a clown, but he's late to work. So
this is a fascinating concept to me.
Yeah.
Clown plane.
I know. I don't understand, really. I think...
For who?
I think he's supposed to do tricks and stuff.
Okay.
Like a normal clown at a 3-ring circus, where they're sort of simultaneously the center of attention and the side thing. I think that's how it works.
Who is he doing this for?
There's like a whole group of people watching the planes race.
Okay.
And so he's gonna
be the
fly the loops or whatever. Yeah, in a plane.
Yeah.
So he's late, but his friend from the plane bar, the aviation bar, who's a retired World War I pilot, decides he's gonna fly the plane for Cliff so that he doesn't get fired. So he takes off.
Wait, why would Cliff get fired?
Because it's a whole thing with the boss that they're worried about.
What?
Yeah. So many characters. I haven't even told you things. All these things. He flies the plane, but then it malfunctions. Uh-oh. And what does Cliff have to do? Put on the suit that his father figure he had that night, like, perfected the design and put on his helmet. He made this helmet, and the like crest on the helmet works like a rudder.
Oh.
It's really cool.
That's neat.
I think that's a really neat idea.
How does that look?
I mean, it looks kind of like the old Iron Man suit, like before the Iron Man suit, the one that's
in the comic books?
Mm-hmm. The original one.
Like the gray one?
Yeah, kind of like that one, but with a crest.
No, see, I'm asking about the crest.
Oh. That looks like a blade. You can look at the picture. Yes, kind of, but no, not at all.
Okay.
No, that wouldn't work. So they get this whole. He saves the guy, gets all this publicity. Now everybody knows where the jetpack is. The mob, the FBI, everybody's looking for him. The circus man dies.
What? No.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what circus man?
Because the man crushed him. The ringmaster, who we weren't really a big fan of, but the scary man killed him too. He is such a scary man. I was just, I'm like, this guy is quite a villain. And then the movie man asked Cliff's girlfriend to go out with him, and Jenny, his girlfriend, being upset at Cliff, said, I'll go out with you to dinner, because it was an official date. He's like a famous movie star or something.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
She's like, yeah, of course, this sounds so fun. And meanwhile, movie star man takes her to like the fancy restaurant that she and Cliff had talked about how they wanted to go, but they wouldn't go. It was a whole thing. Ruth, guess who's at the restaurant?
Bugs Bunny.
No.
I'm sorry, Space Jam really ruined me.
Trudy.
What?
/ Jan from The Office.
Wait.
She's singing.
Wait. Trudy? From, like, Monk?
Yes, Trudy
it's
Monk.
Played by Jan from The Office?
Yeah, it's the same character.
Hang on, I'm blanking on who Jan is in The Office.
She's like you probably wouldn't remember. she's a side character for much of the show.
Yeah.
And then she...
I remember the characters. Does she have red hair?
No. It ends up being Michael. She dates Michael for a bit.
Oh, Jan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so she sings in a seashell.
Those
in a
are
classic...
not the same actors.
Oh my goodness, look it up. In a classic 30s singing thing. They are. It's Trudy. It's surreal. I didn't expect to see her in this movie.
No me gusta. It's fine.
Okay.
Está bien.
Okay. Anyways, so
I just miss Trudy.
Yeah, we all miss Trudy. The mob shows up. The mob shows up at Cliff's house, and they shoot it up. No, that's the FBI.
What?
They shoot up. The FBI shoots up Cliff and what's his name's house. Peavy. That's his name. That's the old man's name is Peavy.
Is this his mentor father thing? Figure?
They've already been attacked by the mob guy, so it's a whole thing.
This is complicated.
It is. It's really complicated.
How far are we through the movie?
This is probably halfway through the movie.
Dang.
The Rocketeer becomes a thing.
It's not that complicated, but they're just like...
But, he kidnaps the girl. The movie star kidnaps the girl.
Oh.
He has to get her back. He has to negotiate with the mob. Not the mob, with the FBI. Cliff does. It's a whole thing. We find out that, there are Nazis involved. Which there were clues dropped earlier. Yeah, clues earlier in the movie that we forgot to mention. Well, we didn't forget. We were just talking. So, Her
Majesty forgot to forget.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, and, it's a pretty wild ending. Do you see how, though, you keep meeting characters?
So we were at the middle.
Yeah.
And then it was a wild ending.
I skipped to the part where, what's his name? Cliff has to go save the girl, and then he thinks he saves the girl, but he is actually taken to the movie guy's place that looks like... You remember the opening scene of Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr., where it's that strange antechamber with all the railings and the...
And he's gonna be, stabbed in?
Mm-hmm. It's that scene, but with sandstone. That building is his house.
What?
That's the movie star's house, and it's so strange.
It explains everything.
Yeah, it's a really weird house. She figures out that he's a Nazi.
Nice.
She's great, actually. She pretends that she's into him and then smacks him over the head with a flour jar.
Cool.
It's really great. She does really good.
Though, yeah, we don't condone violence.
Mustache, thank you. Mustache Man's name is Neville Sinclair. For funds.
Neville Sinclair.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you wear the name of Neville?
Exactly. Neville's the best. Yeah, so, there's really great, rocket things that happen.
She's making little button motions, with the fingers, you hold
that's
the, joystick button.
That's how you start the rocket.
Okay.
The Rocketeer does great things, tricks, and saves the girl.
So, the Rocketeer is Cliff in a suit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
the news starts calling him the Rocketeer.
Okay.
Yeah. They have to fight Nazis at the end. It's great. And it all gets tied up really nicely. And it's just generally, yeah. I got us halfway through the movie, but do you see how there's just lots of characters?
Yeah.
It's a very full story. It ends with the line, a child saying, "Rocketeer to the rescue."
Aww.
Yeah, you're like, yay.
So it is a kids movie.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit. Yeah, no.
Kids movies tend to have, the one villain that's, super creepy in retrospect.
Well...
And even as a kid.
It's...
Like Cruella de Vil.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the thing is... Okay. Yeah, maybe. Except it's... Neville Sinclair, who is creepy. Everyone knows he's creepy, okay? Yeah. Creepazoid fellow. And then, there's the guy with the scary man who crushes people. Yeah. And then the mob.
Yeah?
Yeah, but the mob turns out to be pretty cool.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
That wasn't clear.
There's a great... Well, yeah, you find out. There's this great line where they're like, "We may break the law, but we're American.
What?
We may have never made an honest day's money in our lives. Yeah. It's a
that
great...
seems to be stating something.
It's a great movie. Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you think, Ruth?
I'd watch it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like in the mood you'd be in to watch Air Bud is the same mood you'd be in to watch this movie.
Definitely.
And I've been in the mood to watch Air Bud.
Yeah.
In my life before. Rewatch it.
It's remarkably rare.
It is. Having passed that stage of my life where I wanted to watch Air Bud all the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't really do it again. I really would have to be in that mood.
You'd have to be in that mood.
But like, I would watch it.
Exactly. This movie definitely is one of those. It falls in there. It should be on that list if you keep lists of movies. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. All right.
That was enjoyable.
Well, folks, that was The Rocketeer. One last thing. It didn't have the Disney Tower at the beginning.
Really?
Nothing Disney related showed up at the front where they're like...
Yeah.
None of that. And I think that's part of maybe one of the reasons it felt like Air Bud so much.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Air Bud does that either.
Is Air Bud Disney? I didn't think it was.
That's a good point. I don't think it is either. Wow. Yep. Anyways, that's that.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Lost in Theaters. We do. Should we have an end of the podcast theme song?
Sorry, keep going.
Should we have an end of the podcast theme song?
Maybe. Yeah, that'd be fun.
You've been lost in theaters, so this is our ending song. We hope you'll join us next week, and then you'll sing along. This was a lovely time. I can't think of a rhyme. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you in the future.
Bye.